Good morning.
It feels like it. It does feel like
It feels like I've got a second wind going here, huh? Georgetown School Committee meeting for Thursday, October 11th is now called to order. The first item on our agenda is the consent agenda, and it's the approval of minutes from the regular session of 9/27/12 and governance minutes of 9/21/12, as well as the acceptance of warrants 15V13 and 14P13. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
so moved.
Second?
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next up, we have Cole Martins, our student rep, who it's,
Who's feeling better tonight?
feeling much better. And we get you on at the beginning of the meeting, which is nice. So this is your opportunity to tell us what's going on in school, let us know anything that we need to hear about, or
Yeah, sure.
things that you want us to know about.
Well, I mean, it's not much has changed since the last meeting, but as part of student council, I'm the president of student council, so we are implementing a program called the Royal Citizens, and what it is students or staff can nominate kids for doing something good, like helping someone out, or they see a random act of kindness that, you know, it's not necessarily, it goes unnoticed. And with this, we wanted to recognize these people, and it's part of Anti-Bullying Month, and we didn't want to do something like bullying's bad. You know, we have gone through the whole education of bullying, and it's very important. But I wanted to, all of us wanted to put a positive spin on it and recognize the people that are doing really, really well in school and do really kind things. So tomorrow during school, we're going to announce all the people over the intercom that have done, you know, something good, and we have, I want to say, like 10 people that are recognized. And so I know next school committee meeting they really wanted to show you
Yeah.
how
Remember,
well
we
it's
want
going.
to feature
Once a
special
month.
student groups. So next time we are we invited the student council, so they want to come and speak a little bit more about why this was an important project for them. And then in November, on November 15th, Liz Marchetti wants to come with a group of students that she's had working on an online store. So they want to share with you what they've done to put products online as part of the business program. So those are for the next two meetings. Groups
Great.
want to come, and then we'll continue to not only just high school, middle school. We
Yeah,
want
'cause
middle school,
we asked the-
elementary, you know, as well. We just haven't had a chance to generate like all of the events for the year, but it is a priority
It's a
for
great
us
start.
this year. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, like,
So you'll
like
come
she
on-
said,
you'll
yeah,
come
next
and-
meeting we'll explain how well it's going and give a, I don't know, a better or more detailed
Yeah.
explanation of it. But other than that, I think, like I said, everyone's, you know, gearing up for the school year. I know SATs were last weekend, and I as a senior took them, so, I mean, other than that, I think the school's
And
going
everybody's
pretty well.
dealing with the triple E.
Yes.
Hopefully it'll be a frost on Saturday,
yeah,
so we
I heard that there was
probably
supposed
may
to
be able to
one.
resume activities next
Really
week.
hoping, I'm definitely hoping for that, so we don't have to keep busing to Haverhill or having all our home games away, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Now, the bullying recognition, is that gonna go through the year, or is that just?
It's just for the month of
Just for the month,
October.
okay,
Yeah.
all right, no, good to know. And you are a student rep because you're the president of the student council, that's how it is
Mhm.
picked
Yeah.
up, that's
Yeah.
how it's done every year, I just wanted everyone to know that, so that, for those at home wondering how you get to sit with us every other Thursday night.
You get to be so lucky.
But if you had wanted to do
really
it,
bad.
if Paul had wanted to do it, then they would have found somebody else on the
Yeah,
student
and they
council.
have someone in my absence come
Yes.
and sit and here.
Okay.
Like, we recognize or ask someone to do it if I'm not able to make the meeting.
Okay, great, thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, up next, is anyone here from the public that wishes to comment on any item on the agenda? Where is the fan base? We're talking about sports last time, Kiev this time, I'm surprised. All right, with no one else wanting to speak, Brian, do you want to come up to speak about Kiev with, I don't know.
Do you want to do
if you
want
want to bring grade 6 and grade 8 at the same time, how you
I think
guys.
I will.
If you guys all want, I
Come
don't
on
know
up,
if you want
Jack.
them all to
We'll
come
make
up,
it
but.
relax, and then
Okay,
I'm gonna leave them
okay.
open for questions
Okay.
after.
All right,
We'll
okay.
let the team relax for a couple of
All
minutes.
right, that's fine.
I know you alluded to it a little bit. Sometimes it can be a hot topic every year. And sometimes it presents some confusion
Yep.
from the budget process to the actual trip. And just for a disclaimer for everyone on the committee, Ann had emailed a list of questions to Carol and to myself concerning some budget items around the Kiev trip, and we got them yesterday, I think. So what I would like to say about that is, first of all, you had a lot of excellent questions that were posed, and it tweaked and piqued my interest a
Ann's
little
the
bit.
numbers person.
And you're a numbers person, exactly. So the short version of the answer is, Ann and I had an opportunity to speak today about most of your concerns. And we had a tremendous conversation. I think we made a lot of progress right off the bat. I had some time to do some research. But I wanted to ensure the entire committee that we have a group of people that are making every attempt to make certain that from this point on, that we have a really transparent, fiscally responsible process when it comes to Kiev, so there's no more mysteries. Whatever the mysteries are, we're going to unravel them and resolve them. I did not have an opportunity to unravel and resolve everything in the last 36 hours.
But you've made tremendous progress.
but we've made
We
tremendous
have a very
progress.
clear understanding of what's going on.
But I will say that, you know, when I say that there's a team involved, certainly my team leaders and I have been working on the process for a while. Joan is involved, Julie Lavecchia is involved, Joanne, Sherman, and Carol. So we're all working together to pull this together once and for all. We completely understand the budget concerns, so I'm formally asking for a little extra time to continue working with the team that I just mentioned. I'm hopeful that once we're able to get all the background information together and all the history lessons are done, that we'll be able to deliver a real concise, user-friendly, possibly one-page budget that will be very, very easy to understand and will probably answer a lot of questions off the bat. And we'll also provide supporting documentation with that budget. I'd like to be able, with your permission, to present that at the next school committee meeting, if you're willing to let us have that time.
Yeah, just a little, just so the committee knows, just by way of background, I think we've had 5 principals in the past 5 years, and Brian has been here. This is his 2nd year in a row. So, for which we're incredibly grateful.
So am I.
Yes, we are.
The heating man thanks you.
Yeah. So I think part of the issues are just the transition. I mean, he has a great team that understands Kiev and everything that's going on with it, but we have a couple things that happened. The one, and really 2 of the big things that alerted me to looking at this is we have a new bus contract this year. So our transportation for regular ed is lower than what it has been historically. But what they did on the back end is they increased the wait time costs. So all other transportation goes up by about 40%. So when you look at athletic transportation, when you look at field trips, things like that, that's where the difference is. So when you actually look at the contract that we had for First Student and for North Reading Transportation, you see initially it's great because you look at regular ed transportation went down significantly, but when you look at the other side of it, it really ratcheted up quickly. So one, we're not sure if we have to use North Reading for this field trip or not. We have to figure that out. And then the question becomes, what is the true bus cost for this if in fact we have to use North Reading? So that was kind of the start of it, and then we just went down
Right.
with several other questions. And it's more of like when you look at grade 6 and grade 8, do they line up? Do they make sense? The Kiev numbers themselves are fine. They're the same that they've always been. It's just more of the little line items. And then we also want to make sure that we account for the excess funds that we have from the 5th grade celebration. That whatever is left over from that follows the class up to grade 6. Historically, we've used that to offset the Kiev trip. We want to make sure we have that accounted for properly as well. And those are really the big issues that we have. And there's no question that with a couple hours, it's all going to get resolved and figured out. I have confidence that that's
Good.
going to be taken care of. So
It
that's
was
the
a good exercise all the way around, I think.
Yeah,
so.
I'm sure everyone was saying that about me today. But
As I was cursing you, I was learning though, so that was good.
Well, there's the merits of the trip, and then there's the budget.
right,
I think
it's,
that,
and I think that's the mix here. We just
Right.
want to make sure that we've accounted for everything properly, so that when we go out to the parents, we can say, this is what it's going to cost you, and this is why it's going
This
to
is how
cost.
it
you.
Well, to that end too, my next thing that I was going to tell you is at a future meeting, once the trip has been completed and all the bills have been paid, I will make an appointment with you to be able to come here and present the final kind of cost analysis with a breakdown and all that supporting documentation, so that everyone knows where
With the
everything
caveat
is.
that he doesn't have to talk to me for another year.
Yeah, no, that's fine. No, this was actually very valuable for me. But in the meantime, all that being said, if you would allow me to do that and come back at another time, I would ask tonight that you consider moving forward on the 6th and the 8th grade trip, so that we can have the, what time we have to notify families and to work to pull everything
Because the
together.
date has changed.
Because the date has changed. So I know MCAS was a big issue, and we were going in March, and for many years, and now the 6th grade is looking to go towards the end of November, which is cutting it close, so.
How does the committee feel? It's your.
And the other thing, before you vote, obviously.
So, yeah, we're
our
not going to
team is
vote
he-
right now, but is it okay if we separate the two issues
In terms
Yes.
of the time
But-
versus
versus approving the
Sure.
program
the
in
program?
And anyone
in its
here is
spirit.
available to answer
And
questions.
then at the
so.
next meeting, just have, I'm thinking it's about a 5-minute conversation about what the numbers look like.
Okay.
So you'll tell the parents, we'll get the number to them, we're just trying to get the
Yes.
final number.
Exactly.
All right.
But in the
Do you want-
meantime, if anybody has any specific questions about Kiev and what it's about, my history people are right behind you. So. But thank you for giving me the time to
Can I ask
Give you the
about the date
info.
change?
say it again.
Can I ask about the date change?
Yep. Julie, you want to respond to that?
So we changed the date because it was requested that March was time on learning and right before MCAS. And so we tried to grant that request, and Kiev's only date was November 26th or March 5th. And so we moved it. And we assumed we were going to have, again, meet in September, because it's hard to plan a trip in 5 weeks, and it's hard not to let parents know. And it's hard to let parents know when you don't know whether you're going to get approval. So it's a difficult situation. So that's why the date was changed. I'm happy. In my town, students, 6th graders are gone already on their trips. And it will be a little warmer. It's going to be cold, but it's not going to be snow, and it's not going to be freezing. So I'm excited. And the 6th grade is fabulous, and I think they are just going to soar.
Okay,
And
so
part-
that was a question that I had. Just for full disclosure, I have a 6th and an 8th grader.
dear.
Um,
It happened to Ann last year.
Yeah.
Yes. You do feel that the 6th graders this early on, getting into the whole middle school routine, you think that they're prepared and ready and?
Personally, I do. I think they would be ready whenever we told them, because that's the group this is. They're wonderful.
They've made a great adjustment.
They're wonderful. So
Very-
I can
very
see
quickly.
them being very excited. I can see nerves as we see nerves in March.
I was gonna say,
And
you-
more
you-
parents than kids. But it's the way that it is, and we feel that this program is so important to their development. The bullying, I'm so excited that it is anti-bullying month. We talk about it always with Kiev language in our school, in our classrooms, grades 6 through 8, probably over, from teachers who have made the transition to high school. So it's one of my favorite things.
So what I've been hearing about for years, right, is one of the things that was tough about March, other than the weather, was it was already like almost through the entire year, and some of the foundational skills that they were getting at Kiev were supposed to be the bonding between teachers and staff, the meeting of new friends, spending time with people that they're not as familiar with or maybe don't gravitate toward. And so they were asked to consider moving it forward for for those purposes. And then that gives them more time when they return from Kiev to really be embedding the theme into their school culture and their discipline code and their classroom language.
Management.
Yeah.
Classroom management.
So this date though is new, like nobody knew. So when
Nobody
the
knows.
parents get it, they will be surprised that it's November.
Yes.
That's why you have to decide if you.
Unless
want
they're
it.
watching
Yeah.
tonight. Right, but could I just say, for full disclosure, I also have a sixth grader and an eighth grader who will be going on this trip. And I'm very excited about it because I have now a 10th grader who went and, it was a wonderful, wonderful program for him. And it does, facilitate bonding and getting to know each other, but it's really more than that. I mean, in my mind, they say that it's taking away time on learning, but it's the social emotional curriculum. It's preparing the soil so that the tree of learning can really grow. And, I just would like people to understand that the curriculum and it is a curriculum that Camp Kiev uses it's a customized amalgam of 3 of the very most well-known, evidence-based, highly effective programs that it's used all over the country. In terms of the Always Bullying Program, the 40 Developmental Assets of the Search Institute, and the Botvin Life Skills. And all of those programs, which, some schools just operate them separately, but we're very fortunate enough to have them all within Kiev at this time, this middle school age where their developmental needs are so social emotional. They really need to, in order to learn and retain the information, they need to be able to feel good about themselves and how they interact with others and, how they make decisions and how they, just all of that business.
I didn't realize how powerful it was until I witnessed it for myself.
It's a curriculum. They are learning. It's time on learning. It's not,
it's not a
it's
vacation.
not the MCAS, but it's
They work.
the team building, the understanding how to work together. It's very, very important.
Yes.
So it's
Now,
not
will
just a
we still
vacation.
be, Friday, I know in years past, they did the Wednesday dinner, and so will you still plan on having that Friday, the parents?
So that's a Kiev change. So Kiev changed that a couple of years ago.
Okay.
They found that Wednesday was too emotional,
Yeah.
as specifically for the younger, as well as the older students who attended. And they found that the parents coming on Friday kind of helped with the leaving and the teachers themselves just, again, moving forward and finishing, moving forward back to Georgetown. So that's their program, yes. And we have I'm very proud of our community. We have great turnout. Kiev can never believe how many members come to see, the school itself and then to support their child. It's really amazing. We have usually, I would say, 50 to 60% turnout. We really do. That's huge.
That's a trip too. I mean,
That's
Yeah.
a trip.
Yeah,
It's 3.5.
It's a drive.
3.5 solid.
Yeah, when you have to hit
but it's
McDonald's twice on the way up, it's a good. Just for me. It was fun.
But it's worth it. It's really worth it to go up there and see the kids and see the staff at Kiev and let them, and, because there's a special program for parents, so they will, show you and tell you and involve you.
And they do that on
what they're
Friday
teaching the
morning
kids.
now, right? Okay.
Friday morning, yes. It used to be a 9 to 2
Right,
um,
on Wednesday.
on Wednesday, and then they have made it 9 to 11. So they have mired it down a little bit, but
And parents can still send their children home on the bus on Friday if they don't.
yes, and that works out actually well as we have found. And we have to just make sure we, again, have our ducks in a row and we have our permission slips out there, who is going to take whom home, and it's worked. It's been wonderful, so that has cut costs too.
Can I make just a couple of just because I've been here 6 years now, so I see the pattern. Is there a way to, when I used to be a principal and we used to go to nature's classroom in 5th grade, we always really started informing and planning with the parents in 4th grade. Is there a way to figure out how to reach out to parents when they're in the 5th grade, knowing that they're, so they'll know what to expect? And then the other thing is, I know sometimes we have families who can't afford, for whom this is a financial hardship. And so there may be some students who don't go because of it. And, you know, and sometimes there's scholarship money and that's fine, but one of the things I'd like to see us look at, and I did see that you fundraise, and that's great, but it might be interesting to explore some kind of fundraising, Pam, wellness policy, pretend you don't hear this. You know, I remember, again, what we would do is we would, candy bars, right? So for every box of candy, it costs $30. $15 goes to the company, and $15 gets applied to the student's trip. So if you couldn't go because of money, nothing would stop you from sitting outside of Crosby's, of course with their permission, and selling 10 boxes of candy bars and having that go right to your tuition. So I think the value of the student knowing that I'm contributing, this is important to me and I'm contributing to it. I'm not just expecting my parent who maybe can't afford it. I'd like to see us explore, and again, if we were planning the year before, and doing that, there probably would be more time, not only to do some of the fundraisers you're doing, but to try to create opportunities for the students to help themselves and lower the cost, even for parents who can afford it. They may say, look, your contribution needs to be X, because there is a value to students earning their way. So those are just a couple of things that I've been thinking about over the years that, you know, maybe additions that you could consider.
And there's ever been a child that's been turned down from this trip. I mean, in past years, I myself have paid for a child to go. Teachers have done that because we feel it's so valuable. There's
Yes.
never been a child who has not been able to go because of money
Never.
constraints, ever.
And there also are other teachers in our school who have anonymously
yes, yes.
said, I want this student to go.
It's very
So it is,
heartwarming to see it.
it
really
is amazing, but I
But
totally
I'm
agree with
thinking
what
you
you
could
say.
maybe think about having the student be involved in earning some of
I
that
agree
money,
with
even
that.
if,
Oh,
you know,
I
they
agree
need
with
some
that.
help.
It's just like our own children. Do you really want that? We
Right.
provide if you use your own money. I don't think I really want that.
Yeah.
Well, I guess to that end, like, I know the criteria used to determine who, we provide aid to, but, so it sounds like you have a pretty good idea of kids that aren't going and maybe understanding that there's a circumstance behind that maybe they are in a situation where they don't want to bring it forward or
Right.
things like that. So you have a good read on,
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, we're aware.
yeah, because it's a tough conversation to have
Yeah,
with people, and
it
no
is.
one wants
Very
to have
hard.
that conversation.
But I think the other thing is if we planned a year in advance, because I think some parents are still anxious. Some of the kids that don't go, the parents are feeling like, well, I'm not sure I really am comfortable. Again, they might have the opportunity to get information, maybe contact Kiev, learn more about it, because I think we should strive for 100% of the students to go.
Absolutely.
But, that we really shouldn't kind of make it like, well, if you really don't want to go, you don't have to go.
Oh, no. I want you to know in 6th grade A, we try to send the message that we want all to attend.
Right.
And I have to say, in my 12, 13 years of working in Georgetown, 12 years of teaching, I mean, 93%.
Yeah, we figure an average of 7.
Last year was a little higher. I think of the 7th grade as an anomaly. There's a whole bunch of differences about them, the numbers, the twins, the boys. So last year, I think
The energy,
was an
the
anomaly.
enthusiasm.
But honestly, 93%.
Right.
And I'm gonna tell you, some people take vacation.
I know.
And they leave the state.
And they purposefully plan that.
Of course. So
But we
there
want to
are
try to
many
get to those
reasons.
people and say, you know
What,
what,
on that- on
this
that
isn't a
week
week
they
off
plan
from
it?
school, this is a week of learning.
And there's a real
Yes.
value, there's an incredibly, deep
Now,
value to it that
can
we
we-
need to communicate.
Now that we know, like, this year, so if we have this date this year, do we have any reasonable assurance that we'll have it next year?
Yes, so that's another point I just wanted to clarify, and yes, they usually hold that date.
Okay.
And quite honestly, this date is tough, I feel.
'Cause it's right after
the day
Thanksgiving.
after Thanksgiving
Right
vacation.
before Christmas.
I would love the beginning of November,
Yeah.
a couple of weeks into November. However, all they had was this date. And I know that it's important to be in school in March. I completely understand. And I believe too, the beginning of the year is a great idea and the for that bonding and that the rising up and the kids are so great. So I definitely can see us staying in the November time, And I want to try to be a year in advance, absolutely. In the last couple of years, again, maybe it's the last couple of leaders.
Transitions, yep.
It's just that back and forth. It's that hard, in the middle place. So hopefully it will be.
Okay, wonderful.
In eighth grade, a lot of us be going at the end.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes this year we're going the last 3 days of May. Those were the days that they had, because the leadership school and the summer camp, leadership school ends and summer camp takes over, so we're usually the last group to go for the leadership school, and then summer camp takes over. And this year it was, and it kind of works out well because we'll be back for finals and back for all the things that we really need to concentrate on. But May 29th, 30th, and 31st are the dates that they give us.
And yeah, that was same as last year. They did the 28th to the 30th.
Yeah, so try to keep it around there.
Did you have another question, Alana or Pam? I didn't know if you were trying to say something. And I said something.
I just want to be clear on what we're being asked to vote on. We're being asked to vote to approve the program in principle, to say, yes, you can make the reservation and inform parents. The school committee says, yes, you can do this, but we're not voting on any budget issue.
Correct.
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
And is it traditional that the school has funded part of this over the years, or has it
No.
always been
School
something
has
that
never
the
funded
parent?
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
was
it's
the-
always parent and fundraising.
Okay.
Just one other little thing that Carol had mentioned in fifth grade, like mentioning it to them. Historically I remember like moving up meetings where the parents go to the middle school. I thought for something, if maybe we can say to them, last year we went in November. We're thinking we're going to be November-ish.
Good idea.
If we can, just plant that seed, then they'll have an idea that it's coming up.
I just want to say, as a parent of a second grader, I'm glad I can start preparing now. I was glad to learn about this. I think you could. It's never too early to notify parents. My daughter was thrilled when I told her that the sixth graders do. She wants to go too, but
Yep.
I'm glad to have these years to prepare.
Having had 3 that have already gone through it, I still cringe at the idea that I have 2 that are going to go through it again next year. It's just the going away thing.
Just letting go.
Yeah.
I'm very excited. They all have a great time,
All right.
like 99.8%.
So what we'll do is we'll approve, the motion would be that we'll approve the trip for the date specified. And then do we need to approve the budget?
No,
We don't really
the
need
policy,
to.
your
No, I think
policy
it
is-
potentially was
approve the trip.
potentially it was
approve
a,
the trip.
right, a roadblock, but we worked through some of it today, so I can just provide
Yeah,
specifics
so
once
we
we
can,
pull the
with the
info
idea,
together.
with the caveat that at the next meeting, we just wanna go through the numbers and make sure that we're all set, so that.
Bring some closure to the
Yeah,
process.
exactly. And we're gonna do 2 votes. We'll do one for the 6th grade trip and one for the 8th grade trip. The 7th graders do an in-house
Correct.
program where Kiev comes down. All of the energy that we talked about will be, put to good use. So the chair will entertain a motion to approve the 6th grade out-of-state overnight field trip to Camp Kiev as presented with the budget review planned for the next meeting.
So moved.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nope, motion carries. The next motion is for the 8th grade trip. So the chair will entertain a motion to approve the 8th grade out-of-state overnight trip to Camp Kiev as presented, with the caveat that we'll review the budget at the next meeting. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Opposed? No one. Okay. And I forgot further discussion. But looks like we're all set.
We haven't had that.
And I'm wondering, so thank you for
So,
that.
thank you
Thank
all
you.
thank you very much for going through all the little exercise today. I appreciate it.
It was great, I told you.
I'm sure it
It's all good. So before
learning
Mr.
process.
Gill leaves, I just wanted to remind you and see if this would be the right time, or do you want to wait till new business? For Brian to discuss that slight change in the calendar that he'd like to make
that's
on the
right.
conferences.
Since you're in a giving mood right now.
And since he's at the table.
I forgot about that, yeah.
So do you wanna quickly
While
say
you're
what
in the
we-
Christmas spirit, the holiday spirit, We are looking, after meeting with the team leaders and having lengthy discussions about conferences for this year, it was determined, we determined a couple of things, conclusions actually, that spring conferences, although we have one on the schedule for 2013, normally they're not that well attended. Historically, they're not that well attended. And from an educational standpoint, we think it's educationally responsible to meet with as many families as possible as early in the year as possible, giving us a jump start on how to help them, to help us, to help their children to be successful in middle school. So that being said, we would like to have you entertain the possibility of allowing us to switch the April 4th evening conferences, 2013, to November 29th, 2012.
So that would allow them to have more.
That would allow them to have more,
requests, honored.
correct,
Because they have.
more
I
individual
forgot the number,
parent
They
conferences.
had like 80 parents who signed up for conferences.
Right.
And if you look at the available slots, and understanding teachers always do conferences at other convenient times, but if you look at the number of slots, they're not even accommodating half of the parents. So the idea would be if they could move that conference time to the fall, then they could accommodate more parents at a time when more parents probably feel they need and want the information and the dialogue with the teachers. The teachers in there,
The current scheduled date is April 4th, 2013, but we'd like to bring that back to November 29th. Now, somebody may pick up on that.
Yeah.
That's right. So all the kids are at Kiev, but these are parent conferences. Now, what you may
But
have
what
made,
about
Right,
teachers?
Kiev too, right?
the sixth grade teachers,
Only
so
six.
that's part two of this.
Okay.
The sixth grade teachers have already made a commitment to do their own night, a third night, because they will not be available. They'll be at Kiev on that night.
Right.
So they have made a commitment to come in on another night as close to those dates as we can schedule, and that's to be determined right now, where they will hold sixth grade parent conferences.
now the teachers always give way more time for conferences than scheduled. We just accept that and appreciate that.
I'm sure.
I think, though, that the contract, just so you know, the context behind this, the contract does require teachers to spend 3 evenings, basically of the district's determination. However, and in the past, we have done fall and spring conferences in an open house. So what the teachers are doing is they're just willing to redirect their third evening
Spring.
to create
Fall,
the
to
open
create-
house and 2 fall conferences. Now, the
For
only
the
thing,
80
you know, when
parents.
this was brought to my attention, and I know this would be true for the teachers, but I said to Brian, I think the most important, something we have to consider, though, if parents who really want a spring conference request a spring conference, we've all been assured, and I know the
No one
teachers
will
will
be
be true to
denied
this, that
if
no
they do
one
that,
will
right.
ever be denied a conference, even if it's not provided for in the contract or the calendar. Okay, so that just seems important to all of us, because the teachers understand the value of the conferences.
Well, I think
And-
that has to be communicated to
Yeah.
parents as well.
Yeah.
Because I think that's one of the hardest things, is knowing when is it okay to contact my child's teacher?
Sure.
When can I get in there to see the teacher?
Well, I think their plan is
I
to
have
send
a
out a
concern.
letter and really communicate that to the
Correct.
families, that, you know, conferences are a very important time. We want to hear from you. We want to work with you. Here are some available times. If you don't feel a need for a conference now, that's fine. We'll schedule one at your convenience. But it is important, you know, that we extend our invitation to you, because you are our partner.
I just think it's really important for parents to understand that there's an ongoing parent conference system in our school. We're seeing parents every day.
Right.
Parents email us and they want to see us, we find a time to see them immediately. We don't wait, say, well, we're having conferences in November, we'll see you then.
Okay.
This is, we met someone this morning, I met someone last week. We always, I mean, I'm a parent, I'm not gonna say no to a parent.
And the
Ever.
emails
I've
have
experienced
been
that, yes.
amazing. Like this year,
Yeah.
one
Well,
thing I
that's been a
noticed
goal of
this
the
year
building.
at the
No,
open
no,
house
they
was
always
that
say yes.
a lot of the grade 7 teachers, and I'm sure everyone else did, but I have 2 in grade 7. They all had lists of when would you prefer your conference, morning, or afternoon or evening,
Yeah.
and then I'm going to say almost everyone said, if you need to reach us, please try to reach us by email, because that's much easier because of the phone situation. And in my 3-4 years there now. I don't think I've ever waited hardly, more than 24 hours for a response from
That's
a
good to
teacher.
hear.
And even if it's more like, I can't get to you right now, but I got your email and I will, respond to you, if they're
It
out
goes a
or if
long
they
way.
have meetings.
Yep.
They've been unbelievably responsive.
I'll send that message back, because that's
Yes.
important for people to
No,
hear,
it's,
too.
it is important, and I hope everyone does have,
Yes, I have a similar
Yeah.
experience, absolutely.
so.
Can I ask a question about the conferences? Well, does this mean that it's not student-led?
Yes.
Correct.
No, it's not student.
But they're not abandoning that idea.
Right.
They're just not using it at this time.
Okay.
You know how, we chatted about this, you know how, like the 5th grade kids will have like a famous American Day, or the 3rd graders do animal projects, whatever, where they make a day of it. It's like, in Margaret School does a celebration of learning a whole day. So they're discussing the possibility of creating a day of learning and giving parents and students an opportunity to do student-led conferences in a way that makes sense in terms of the school year and the school day, and it fits into the process. So, but they don't want to abandon it because it's very appropriate for middle school. We talk about students being independent learners. We talk about authentic learning, and we talk about all of those developmental things that we really want kids to care about. I'm not just doing it for the teacher, I'm doing it because, this is what I want you to know about what I've learned from the project. So conceptually, it's very appropriate. It's just that, and I don't think the people who came in the past thought it was anything but a good project. It just competed with people's interest and time in meeting directly with the teacher. So unfortunately, you know how that goes. Something gets a bad rap when it's just the circumstances. It's not the real value or context of it. So I think that's what we're thinking now, is that there's a way to do both.
That's why we really needed the extra time.
No, we don't need to vote on that, because it's just,
Well, it
maybe
is a
we
change
should
to
vote,
the
'cause
calendar.
it's a
I think
change
you
to the
should.
calendar.
Change to the calendar,
Yeah,
that
so
was my
we should.
assumption, yeah.
Yeah, that's why I brought it forward.
So we have to vote, the calendar still, we set the beginning and the end of the school year, and then we vote on all the professional development days, the holidays, and vacations, so that's what we have to vote on this. So the chair will entertain a motion to change the calendar to reflect parent-teacher conferences on November 29th in place of April 14th, 2013.
April 4th, I believe it is. Is it April 14th?
April 4th.
Okay.
For the 7th and 8th grade.
For the 6th, 7th.
Sixth, seventh, and eighth.
7th and 8th grade.
Oh, yeah, 7th and 8th, you're right.
To be
Thank you.
determined for the 6th grade.
Thank
Correct.
you. 7th and 8th.
And
will
as soon
be-
as we determine that, I'll get that into your packets and we'll schedule it for,
So we have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you
thank you very
much.
much.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we'll go to.
I've enjoyed my annual visit with all of
And we,
You might be coming back,
you
Michelle.
can come
never know.
anytime to
Good to
visit.
see you. Thanks for coming.
All right, next up is the DECA state competition in Boston and California with Mrs. Ryer.
Hello, Lisa.
Hello.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. I'm going to sit in a different chair.
This is exciting because we have to approve competition in California as well.
That's right.
Which is just great. This program has really taken off.
Absolutely.
It really has. This is the 4th year of DECA at the high school. I was asked to bring it when I was hired, and I did, and we've grown exponentially. And for those of you who don't know what DECA is, it is a high school business club that is co-curricular. It's a national organization, and it's open to students who are taking business electives, so mostly 10th through 12th grade. And we do a lot of activities that will make people comfortable with taking their classroom learning and applying it out in real life situations. We have district competitions in January, so we spend the fall fundraising and preparing and choosing different events. There's a lot of events. And in the past 3 years, I've brought my officers with me, and we've had a PowerPoint. But November has been declared to be DECA month. And so we asked to come back in November with a little presentation to give everyone then.
Great.
So district competition is a full day in January at the Sharon Ferncroft. And Carol has come and judged
I
every
loved it,
year
every year.
and has seen firsthand, the students are all in professional attire, and they really just raise the level up. That there are about 400 students there from our district, which is schools nearby us, North Andover, Rockport, Manchester, Essex, Beverly, Gloucester. And they're given role plays. They have 10 minutes to prepare, and then they go in and meet one-on-one with the judge, which if any of you would like to judge, plug, I would.
I actually did judge at the state level in Boston last year.
Did you?
Yes, I was
Fantastic
so
process.
impressed with the kids.
Yeah.
My goodness, they did a great job.
Yeah.
Talk about pressure. But they don't, if they're nervous, they don't show it. The poise and the confidence in these young people is like unbelievable.
It's really
It's
inspiring.
really
I highly
it
recommend
is
it for
inspiring. That's a good
anybody.
word for it.
I agree.
I look forward to doing it again this year.
Awesome. It's really been nice to see. I had a student join the first year as a sophomore. Last year she was a senior. She wrote about DECA in her college essays. She was extremely shy as a sophomore, nervous to speak in front of people or, meet a grown up. It's kind of intimidating. And then by the time she was a senior, she had spoken in front of 3,000 people at the state conference. She felt that she could get up and present anywhere. She just had all the confidence in the world, and it really made a huge difference for her in her life and in her career goals and in the school she wanted to attend. And it was really heartwarming to hear her reflection back on it. So.
And not that winning medals is everything, but I have to say, we have heard from the officers of DECA, the statewide officers of DECA, that they've never seen a program like the program in Georgetown in its infancy. I mean,
It's 4
come
years old.
away with large numbers of qualifying students, not only for the states, but for the nationals. And I mean, I had the pleasure when I judged to go in actually during the presentation and sat with the kids, and Lisa and her staff, and there's just such camaraderie, and the number of medals that Georgetown walks away with is not something that you see, but it's not something that you see, and they've commented on that, like, wow, for a new program, they're in awe. So a lot credit goes to Lisa. She knows what she's doing. She raises students well, but it's also the whole business program and the work of the business teachers, because they have to be taking business electives, and when they get these role plays, they have to apply the business principles. You can tell the ones that come from a true business program and those that have not had that background. It's supposed to be they're applying the skills, and the kids from Georgetown obviously do, and it's recognized by the judges. So I do think it's a phenomenal program, and Beverly Enos still talks about how the kids from DECA went on the Spotlight Georgetown and how impressed she was with not only their enthusiasm but the way they presented themselves. She went over and over that many times with me just how impressed she was. So. Congratulations, Lisa, and I know that good things are going to continue to happen.
Thank you. Thank you. So for those students who qualify from districts, the state trip is set in advance, and everyone from the state goes. There's about 3,000 people at the Marriott Copley, and we kind of take over the hotel.
Yes, that's
But it's very well run, very well organized, and really impressive. So those dates are in March, and we don't have an option on those. And since we're asking for all of the approval at once this year, we know that the nationals will be in California at Anaheim. They will have a DECA Day at Disneyland. When we were in Orlando 2 years ago, they had DECA Day at Disney World. And it's not really a full
Are they
day,
looking
but
for judges for that?
always. So I can't know how many students might qualify, but I can estimate, and I can estimate the cost. So
Let's
that's
hope
what
your
I'm doing.
estimates are too low. That would be nice.
Well, we lost 35 seniors last year. They graduated.
Wow.
So I was left with 7 returning members. And my count right now is 40. So I didn't think I'd quite get back up there, but we're very fortunate. We're running 3 sections of marketing this fall, and the majority of those students are enrolled and excited, and
So are the students, when they compete, are they competing individually or as a team?
It depends, they have lots of different.
They could do both. They could prepare a written report in advance. I've had students do that take up an entrepreneurship project, for example, or an advertising project if they're into fashion. They have all these different
I'm
categories.
just thinking about the California trip. If somebody made it to nationals, is there a chance that it would just be a one student? I mean, I get
Yes.
that our program
Yeah.
sends a
But
lot of
they-
people, or would they be going as a team?
It's their choice.
How far they make it.
Yeah, okay.
It's their choice.
But if they enter a competition that's a team competition, if they went to California, they wouldn't go as a team. They
Yes,
could.
they
Yeah,
would
They
go
would
if
go.
they
See,
wanted.
it depends on what you
Okay.
enter.
So there's a variety
for
of
what you
competitions.
qualify.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow, interesting. That's fascinating.
And last year, we had the awful problem, fabulous problem, of having a student who qualified for 2 national events. So she would have had to pick which one to do. One, she qualified with one partner on her role play that she went to districts and states in. And then in marketing, my students play the stock market game, which is a simulation with $100,000 that they need to invest in the stock market. And she did that with another person in class, and they were in the top 25 for our whole Northeast in the country. So she qualified on that. So worst case scenario, she was going to have to pick which one to go on, which is very cool.
Bad problem to have.
Currently, we have someone who's number 50 out of 3,000 in the nation in the stock market game. So maybe we should go to them for some investing.
Yeah.
And that's in your marketing course?
It is.
Great. And what grade do you have to be in to take that course?
Um, usually
Go
10th.
to Lundquist children?
Usually 10th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And do you how do they just pay out of pocket? No fundraising goes on?
We do fundraise. The buses, we have a Bentley Leadership Conference coming up next week for the day with workshops. The bus for that last year, from one day to Bentley and Waltham, was $335. This year, I almost fell over when they told me $480 for one day. So we sold agenda books, and we earned about almost $400 from that, high school agenda books. So the officers voted that they would use that to fund the bus to Bentley. And then the students have to pay the admission, which was $30. We have approval from Mr. Lucia, we're going to sell pashminas. So they'll probably be over trying to get you to buy some pashminas. And we're doing a Barnes & Noble book fair again for the second year this year in November, where we ask the whole district to come and do holiday shopping or whatever, and we get a percentage back. As part of that, we put on a day of sort of community events. Mrs. Jacobs came last year and read to the little children.
Love that.
And we had a student that sang and different things like that. So those are the only things we're doing this year. We're trying to be creative and not do food. Last year we did chocolate-covered Oreos, which were a huge hit, and I'm just afraid to even ask about that this year.
During non-school time, you can sell them.
Go to the fair and you can get them deep fried.
Right?
Stadium seats with royals or something. I thought that would be a good thing to sell.
Yeah, when we work closely with the school storks, we don't want to compete,
Yeah,
and
right.
so we definitely try, but we have to fund our chaperones costs. Last year, we needed to take 3 chaperones because we were so large for us. These people take time off. It's usually myself and then parents, and they take time off work, so we don't ask them to pay for their hotel, and they have to stay up till all hours of the night guarding our students, and so we have to cover that cost as well. So it does end up, for most students, they do earn back credit for what they've participated in fundraising. I think the largest credit back last year was about $75 off the price of States. States runs around $350, $380. Although that probably will be, I'm not sure with the bus, what's going to happen with that. Might be a bit more. And nationals, when we went to Orlando, was about $1,200.
It might be nice to try to figure out, even though I know businesses are really tapped, but businesses that, have a business focus, a financial focus. I don't know if we were to approach like a Fidelity or an organization like that, to say, would you be willing to sponsor a student going to the competition, you know, it's a donation of X amount of dollars. You don't know if that's a strategy
I'm
that's
happy
been
to try.
tried.
I haven't tried that.
But I mean, you know, I don't know that a local pizza shop would be the place to approach, but I'm thinking people who really want to see, you know, the future of business thrive and want to recognize these young people are coming into their field, if they'd be willing to support something like that. Might be worth a try.
Absolutely.
Great idea.
All right. Any more questions? No? All right, the chair will entertain a motion to approve, we have to do, yeah, we'll do these, to approve the DECA state competition to Boston, in March, from the 14th to the 16th as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And the chair will entertain a motion to approve the DECA national competition in Anaheim, California, from April 23rd to the 28th as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you
And
next
I
month.
would be
Okay.
happy to judge at the regionals if that.
Fabulous. I'll get that to Laura for
Okay.
the date for your calendar.
Yeah, great,
Thank you.
Okay. All right, the music department trip to New York.
Good evening.
Good evening. Welcome.
Now you get a chance to meet our
Welcome.
new
Yes.
band director. I
Welcome.
don't think
Hello.
everybody's met
This is Anthony Messina. He's come from Michigan, also Indiana University. So we're very happy to have him. He's-
Nice to be here. Thank you.
How has it been going so far?
It's going well.
Good.
It's going well. The community is wonderful, and you know, I was calling my mom the other night. I was like, I've never met a nicer bunch of people. So it's really nice to, yeah, it's really nice to. Midwesterners are a little bit more hard-nosed, we'll say. So.
And you're coming from Michigan, so you'll be all set this winter.
Oh no, this is piece of cake. Piece of cake. Yeah. Absolutely.
So we're here this evening to request your permission to take our students, chorus and band, and the drama students with Carrie Donovan to New York City for a wonderful experience for a weekend, and to break out of the mold of Georgetown and learn a little bit more about the world. So Anthony's going to tell you a brief thing about it.
Some brief highlights about the trip. We tried to pack as much into it and make this a fun and educational experience for the kids as possible. We leave on Friday, April 12th, and when we arrive, we go straight to Chelsea Pier, where we have a dinner and dance cruise where we see all kinds of New York sights, Statue of Liberty, Brooklyn Bridge, all kinds of great things. Saturday, we have a tour of the Radio City Music Hall and all the Art Deco fantasticness of there. We visit the September 11th Memorial, which will be, I think, a real fascinating and patriotic component of that. We are going to see the Newsies on Saturday night on Broadway, so we're pretty excited
Yeah.
that we got tickets. We're able to
Students are really excited
incorporate
about
that. Yeah, they were very
Yeah.
excited about that.
Yeah.
And then Sunday is the most educational portion of that. That includes we have a instrumental clinic with a professional musician from Broadway, who essentially comes in and we bring prepared music and they work with our students on all aspects of music. And then the choir also has. I don't know if you want to talk about
Yeah,
that.
we have same type of program. We go in and sing, we prepare a piece in front of them. We work on a Broadway show, song, and then they work with the kids also in movement and acting while they're singing. So it's quite a,
The coolest part of the choir one is that they prepare a piece and do all that stuff and then actually bring a Broadway musician in,
Right.
like someone who's actually starring in a show right now.
so it's
To
quite
work
an
with the kids.
experience.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's really awesome.
And then we'd have a little bit of time in Chinatown and have lunch, and then we would be back on Sunday evening.
And this is the first weekend of school vacation.
Okay.
So
April
we
12th
would
to the
be
14th.
leaving school maybe a couple of hours early on Friday, just to beat the traffic into New York, and then they would be on vacation.
Okay.
How many chaperones you have
This
then?
is just for high,
7 plus,
Laura
7
already
plus.
said she wants to go.
I know, a lot of people have
Three
told me they wanna
directors,
go.
Laura's husband, and seven
Seven
additional
others.
chaperones, so it'd be 11 total.
and this is just for high school students?
Yes,
Yes.
9 to 12. No,
And you'll continue.
they'll have
will
this
be a
moment
tradition, just
someday.
like-
Hopefully
Yeah,
you'll
great.
continue this forward.
And that's what's really nice about the music program is we do get to take various trips and opportunities with the kids. Cole's been on quite a few with us, and it's probably one of the most memorable parts of teaching is to go away with them and experience life with them and to sing and to bring our music somewhere else.
Yeah, and you
It's-
usually do something workshopy.
Yeah.
So that it's not just going and visiting the sites.
No.
They actually, I mean, some of the video from even the Disney trip.
that
and
was
the- It
wonderful.
was just amazing, the
absolutely.
actual instruction that the students got
Right.
while they were there.
Yeah,
And
the instruction was really great. I mean, I remember doing it, and I just had so much fun. In the workshop, the woman who really helped us and taught us everything, she was fantastic. She really, really knew what she was doing, and she incorporated everyone. Everyone was having fun. You could see smiles on everyone's faces, and so I really, really enjoyed the trip. And I think this trip would also do the exact same thing.
Disney's how many years away? 3?
Two more.
2 more.
Yeah. So this is kind of in the midway between the two trips. So
And because you went through a travel company, we don't have to worry about the buses, that's all.
right, it's
Everything-
all factored in.
Everything is included.
Okay,
Food too.
Yeah, all meals.
Yeah.
okay.
Everything's included.
Right.
The only thing we would also, we'll probably do some fundraising. They have a couple opportunities to sell like poinsettias at Christmas to defray the cost of their own trip. And then we're going to do a couple light fundraisers to help defray the cost of the chaperones. Because the cost of the trip is a little pricey already. To add that to parents who are coming to help us is hard. So we would like to help them go, the parents, so.
Excellent.
Sounds like a great program.
It does sound fun.
Any further questions? Right, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the music department's trip to New York City from April 12th, 2013 to April 14th, 2013, as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Congratulations.
Thank
Great,
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Have
for your
fun.
time. Yeah, sure we will.
I'm kind of sensing if you need chaperones.
I know, we have quite a line.
Laura, how are the preparations going for the auction?
Oh, good. But we're still looking for donations, so if there's
Okay.
anyone you know who's,
And what
has
type of
something wonderful to
donations are you looking
donate.
for?
Excuse me.
Like what type of donations? Like anything?
Oh,
sporting
anything
events?
really.
Services,
yeah. Events,
items.
services.
Yeah.
This chorus was discussing today, giving a day of raking. I mean, you know, we've had all kinds of things. It actually, I think they're lower priced items than the PTA auction. The PTA has a wonderful auction, but I think the music program one is a little smaller, but wonderful things, and everyone should come.
Yeah, when is it?
It's a great night.
November 2nd.
November 2nd. And the a cappella club is singing, and the jazz band will play at the very beginning of it
And where, is it at the
at the Black Swan.
Black Swan?
Yep.
Great. Good luck with that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be there.
Okay.
Yes, I'll definitely be there too.
Thank you for your support.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Thank you. And I just want to acknowledge, we're not going to do them tonight, but there are 2 additional trips. We talked about having all the field trips in October. And Peter, and whoever he had help him, scrambled to get the French club trip and the close-up trip. And Laura had already put the packets together, and everything was run off and in the packets, and Peter came in and said, "Here they are," and it was just too late to get them in the packet, and it isn't an urgent situation. So with your permission, we'll put those
Wait
on the
till the next
agenda for the next meeting. But I did want to acknowledge that Peter really did work to get those done, and it just ended up being that we just couldn't get them in the packet.
That's a lot of
Just-
trips.
Just
A
a
lot of
question,
trips.
Peter, on the close-up, do we do that every year, or do we didn't do it last year, did we?
No, we haven't done it for the last
Couple years, okay.
Yeah.
And then the Canada trip,
We're not sure.
we're not sure if you're gonna do it, right?
We want to.
They have to get the approval.
Okay. And then the trip to Canada, is that in lieu of the trip to France?
Yes,
Okay.
and that's That is, they're gonna leave Friday before February vacation.
Okay. All right, we'll talk about
We'll
that.
do
I
that,
just wanted
yeah.
to make sure I
Yeah.
had an idea. And are we doing
We're gonna
the
table,
National
we're gonna,
Merit
we're
Scholars
gonna
next?
table that till next time, and
Okay.
then I'm also gonna be doing the superintendent's award next time. So it'll make
Okay.
sense that we'll just recognize the high student
Okay.
achievers at the same time. That'll work out perfect.
All right. Okay, department reports. Were we doing something with professional development?
Well, I wanted to have Julie come up and just give her an opportunity. As I said, you know, we have our professional development days, and sometimes parents aren't quite sure, you know, what went on, and then maybe the committee doesn't know what's planned and happens as a result of those days when there are no students in school. So in your packet, Julie prepared a summary sheet for October 9th, and just gives you a flavor for all of the various activities that went on, all related to our strategic plan and our strategic initiatives. Julie, I know we do get evaluations from teachers, and one of the things we're always trying to do is get a sense from teachers as to what are the ways in which whatever the training was will impact their teaching, what changes might they make as a result, and how effective did they feel it was in terms of enhancing their teaching. So I'm not sure if we have had a chance to synthesize all that information, but if you have any questions for Julie, I don't know if there's any information you'd want to share with the committee at this point, or it's really
Well,
just for
yeah.
information.
Just an information point, that our professional development day really did focus around our strategic goal for writing, so we wanted to bring that to your attention and just kind of share with you the way that we worked writing into each grade level and across content, because those were two goals that we had. So at our elementary levels, we were working on building our writers' workshop and looking at our units of study. This is in conjunction with the work that teachers have done over the course of the year and over the summer, and trying to align curriculum to the new math frameworks and working that through, which is a process that we're working on up until 2014, but we feel like we're really able to align our frameworks with our teaching expectations and the materials that the teachers are working with right now. So our professional development was very targeted, and I'm happy about that, because I felt like we were able to really pick a thread and pull it all the way through each grade level and really work through that goal. So I was really happy with that, the way we were able to manage that. At the middle school level, we worked with the Landmark, we worked with Teaching and Learning Alliance at the elementary levels, and that is it's a professional development company that's focused, their main focus is on building literacy and helping support balanced literacy programs. And the woman that we worked with came in and did an informal needs assessment at our Pearlie and our Pembroke schools, and came in and talked to teachers and sat in classrooms and really got a sense of how our readers and writers units of study are working and playing out in the classroom. And she's been able to help us, use that information to synthesize professional development for this year and then for consecutive years, and how we want to build that program. So we're happy with that. We worked with Landmark, which is a really strong goal between not only regular ed but special ed. So working with the Landmark trainer, Janet Paraday, came in and she worked on building scaffolding for teaching and modeling writing in the middle school level. And what we were able to work through there was the common thread of writing across the curriculum and trying to develop some underlying strategies that all teachers can use when they're teaching writing across their content or within their content. At the high school, we worked on building open response questions and taking a look at MCAS data so that we are ensuring that our students are writing in each content area. We took a look at each MCAS test and the way that those open response questions are coordinated excuse me, per content. And so I think each teacher got a good sense of what students are really being asked to do in terms of assessment. And so we were able to work through that again and build in some strategies as well as some really applicable skills that teachers can use when they're developing open response in each content area. So it was a very busy day.
It was a very busy day.
It really was.
And I had the chance to go around, and I know the principals spent time in each session in their schools. And I was very excited about the level of conversation, the real inquisitive nature of the teachers, really an excitement about building these tools. Because we're doing it from a data-driven approach. We're looking at student writing scores. That's how come we're targeting the kind of professional development. And the goal here is to make it as practical as possible. So that, when I was listening to Janet Parody, she was literally taking it down to looking at the writing sample, common assessment language and understanding, and the teachers, just getting a sense of when do you write, how much do you write, and how do you support specific learners. When you see certain things in their writing, how do you help them make improvements to their writing? Not just take the red pen, make the corrections, but really focusing on the writing process. And how are you as a teacher facilitating that and making sure that students can write at higher levels. So it was really, I think the whole day was really well done. And Julie did the one on from the high school, and that was also very impressive. She generated a lot of great discussion. The teachers were very involved, and teachers across grade levels had a chance to look at actual samples of writing and have a chance to score it based on criteria that Julie had put together. And it was very, very interesting. I think Peter asked the question of the day, in the sense that, they had a chance to read them and decide, well, which one of these do you think is a 1, 2, 3, or 4? And Peter said, when we looked at the 3s, which one of you, how many of you scored this a 4 before you read the 4? And the hands all went up. What that says is that we need to be working on adjusting our expectations. That sometimes, because we don't look at exemplars, we look at something and say, oh, that's a good piece of writing. But the goal here is to take that 3, which is a good score, and move it to a 4. And just looking at what are the differences? What do you see that students are able to do in a 3 versus a 4? And how do we teach so that students can push themselves to a 4? So it was very, very, very well done day. I didn't get everything I was supposed to get done that day, but I had a phenomenal time visiting and working with the teachers and the administrators and meeting the consultants, and really felt like it was a positive and productive day.
And just so that everyone knows, because I'm sure many parents are saying, we just got back to school, why are we already doing this? We try to front load the calendar with the professional development, so that everyone can have a good advantage for the balance of the year. Sometimes we have to do it in April, May. Actually, we don't like to do it in May at all, but toward the end of the
we have
year.
October, November, and January, so we really did try to front load that, and because you want to be able to work with
Get the
what you're
maximum.
learning and work with your departments or your grade level teams.
Sure,
And
teachers are learners too, they need to integrate.
Right, and the conversations, like you said, were so important and critical, and it's great to have them at this time of year so that you can plan accordingly and really try to build the rest of your year around those ideas, so.
I just was really impressed with the thoughtful comments made by the teachers, and the sort of probing questions, and challenging each other's thinking and trying to figure out, how does this apply to me? What can I take away from this? It was just very well done, I think.
Thank you. It was a fun day.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
Okay,
So
so
let's-
moving right along,
let's do the
we have superintendent's information for the committee.
Okay.
Does anyone have any questions on that information? Superintendent's information? One quick thing I just want to point out, which I just think is a little interesting. There's 2 pieces of information in there regarding adjustments for 2 schools that we use to send, that we use for out-of-district placements. The only reason I bring this up is we're constrained by a Prop 2.5, our tax rate doesn't go up by more than 2.5%. Our budget is usually tied to something like that. However, we're also required to pay any increases that our schools that we place our students in pass along. And we don't have a choice, that's mandated by the state, and it's negotiated by the state. But we have one in here that has an increase of 10%. The other one, I can't tell you the increase, they only tell me what it's going up to. I don't know what last year's number is, but my guess is that it's greater than 2.5%. I just want to,
I think you can count on that.
I think that it's gonna,
That is,
Yeah, the state is involved in regulating
The
how
state-
much these schools
Yes.
can
They
approve 'em.
increase.
They
The
approve
state
them.
approves
yes,
these, even though they constrain our, oh my God.
yes.
It was really hard to read these, I have
Yeah.
to say,
Yeah,
to see
they-
that it felt like our hands are tied, like what?
Right, we don't have a choice.
Yeah, because, and what I found very interesting, one school said they had experienced major difficulty recruiting and retaining qualified staff. And then, so they needed this increase to go through. And it did go through the state level. So it's just, I just wanted to bring that out to everybody to understand that we are constrained by that, but when that comes through, we have to pay it. We don't have a.
So the problem is when we make a budget, we budget an expected increase. Generally, we'll budget 3 to 4%. So, because you have to understand that you know that the tuition's gonna go up some.
This is the tuition for this year, this is not like any advance warning for next year, this is like, we
No, I
upped our
think those
fees,
are-
you've
those
already
are
got a
effective
budget
next
now.
year.
Oh, no, this is next year.
This is for next year,
But
okay.
so in order to, we have a 10% increase in this area for, X number of students, which means we have to offset that
Yes.
in some other area.
But this is great because this is before the budget process,
So
so
we
we
know.
actually can
We know.
budget this.
Right.
But it's not generally the case. We often will get this notification after the budget's built, so we do, full disclosure, we do build in a small increase, knowing that the costs are gonna go up. But when they go up 10%, 21%,
It exceeds-
35%,
it
it exceeds what we
have
budgeted.
built into the budget, I understand.
Right, and in these line items, we put in what we know, so. All right. The other item that Carol,
Do you wanna just go through the rest, Dan, and we can do the strategic plan? I mean, it's up to you.
yeah, I put it under I have it noted under new business.
The strategic plan?
Yeah,
Okay,
if that's
great.
okay.
That's fine.
Financial report, is there anything?
Tonight.
Not tonight? Okay.
Be back with the rest of my transfers next time.
Excellent. Subcommittee reports, budget and finance, Barbie,
we have met.
okay?
Great.
Governance,
Governance, we haven't met since last time either.
probably.
No, but we probably will need to get a meeting, because we have that.
We do, we have
Yeah.
to review the
Right.
policies.
Yeah, we've got just a couple.
Okay. Negotiating, we need to meet, we have the first draft of the contract, of the teacher's contract that we have to review. And we also got a letter for GISA that we have to start negotiating.
Right.
We'll have to schedule a meeting for
Who
that.
else is on the committee with me?
Hey.
Ann and you.
Public relations, Pam?
We continue to work on the district website, and I
Okay.
think we're making some really very good progress. And, we want to be sure that we absolutely have all the information that needs to be out there. And thank you very much, Alana and Ann, for your contributions there. And we've been working on your suggestions as well as ours. And, hopefully that will be ready for release at some point, but we want to be sure that it is everything that it needs to be first, so.
Does it make sense to put the leadership school at Kiev on the website?
Yes.
Excellent point.
Another
We were
excellent
just
idea.
saying that we.
Very good idea.
Do you have information about the leadership school at Kiev on the middle school site?
A link?
But maybe it should even be on the
could
Pembroke
just be a
site if we
link,
want
really.
fifth grade parents to be aware of it. And the fifth grade, I think you missed
Okay.
this conversation,
We
but
have another meeting.
Okay.
But-
I'll follow up with you, Donna, on it.
maybe that's something
Yes.
that can go on the website. as well.
Excellent idea.
Anything from the building committee?
I would say that I think everyone knows, but the state approved the 20.3 million on the $47 million project. But that's contingent upon, we have Tuesday, Monday, October 29th, we have the town meeting, there'll be 2 votes. One vote is for the school number, and the other vote is for the feasibility study for the middle high school. They both have to pass together. If one passes and the other doesn't, then they both die. And then, obviously, Tuesday, November 6th is election day. Excuse me. And that's where we vote on those Monday, October 15th, a reminder, there's the public information meeting to be held at Pembroke. And then Saturday, October 20th,
And
at
that's
10
7.
o'clock, another public information meeting. It's a joint board, selectmen, school
So it'd be
building
great if the
committee.
school committee members could make the time
Will
to
be
come.
Yeah,
making
that'd
the
be great.
presentation there, and
Wouldn't we be
the
part of
intent
the
of that
joint
was to
meeting?
get as many people there as possible.
You are supposed to be part of a joint meeting.
Okay.
It is supposed to be a
What's the date of that meeting?
Saturday, the
October
20th,
20th.
right, Rob? Yeah.
10 o'clock?
10
10
o'clock.
o'clock.
And
the
tours
middle high
will be
school.
provided to anyone that attends that meeting before or after of the middle school. The suggestion was made that some folks might not really have a sense of understanding exactly why there's any involvement of middle school regarding any kind of renovations in response to overcrowding. So the option is going to be there. Mike Anderson will help do that. I will help do it. In fact, we reached out to Charlie Mendez to have both of those sessions taped and perhaps go on a little guided tour like we did of Pembroke that can go up on cable television for people who can't come but would be interested to see. That I guess came from citizens, that they felt that, when they had the opportunity to see it, they were like, wow, we didn't realize. So that was asked, and we'll provide the time for that.
Did you also want to mention that the school building committee fact sheet was in the Georgetown Record today? Because they've been working
was
on
it?
that fact sheet for quite a while, and it is there. And it should be posted on town and school websites in the near future.
Okay. And just one more thing, Rob, that, just to let everybody know that the town has been invited by the MSBA into the eligibility period to actually, for the actual middle high school potential project. And what that means, while they won't tell you that in writing at this point in time, is that they will likely, because they've invited the town in, will likely share all costs that would result in the approval by the town of funding for that project. The important thing to know is we don't know what the reimbursement rate would be yet. That would have to be determined throughout the process. But not only are they approving the project for the Pembroke, but they're also inviting Georgetown to become partners in whatever project might be
Result from the
feasibility study.
Which would be a relatively small project.
Relatively small, 3 to 5
5
million
right.
is what we're anticipating.
I mean, compared to.
it's small.
It's
I
a
mean,
lot
compared
of,
to
it's a
20
lot of money,
million,
but
it's-
compared to
Right.
relative
It's-
to New
yeah.
Pembroke.
And we understand that it's a lot to ask.
Yes.
But, the fact that you would get a product for half the cost.
Right, it's a half off
So
sale.
you'd have a $47 million asset for half of that cost, and then whatever might come of the middle high school, so.
That's
But
right.
it is a lot, we understand. Okay.
All right. Let's see. Moving right along, we have 3 technology donations, all made to Pearlie, and all anonymous. And just quickly adding up the amount, it's nearly $10,000 in donations, for which we're incredibly grateful and
Oh, that's
overwhelmed with.
wonderful.
And I think it's interesting to know none of these were solicited. They're all
Donated.
just
People,
donated.
out of the generosity of their
wanting
hearts and.
the school to have this to have different or emerging technology. So the first is, as I said, an anonymous donation. So Chair will entertain a motion to accept a donation in the amount of $2,653 with extreme gratitude for the purchase of a smart board at Pearlie as presented.
So moved. Second?
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Second, following the same line of thinking, the chair will entertain a motion to accept a donation of $1,282 for the purchase of a smart board at Pearlie, again with extreme gratitude.
So moved. Second?
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Finally, the chair will entertain a motion to accept another anonymous donation in the amount of $4,300 to purchase a smart board, again for Pearlie. And we have classrooms noted where they'll be installed with extreme gratitude, so.
Yes, yeah, so moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
With the chair's permission,
Oh,
one more technology donation. It's on your table. Peter
Okay.
asked me if I would do this because I think the computers are coming like next week or something.
yeah.
So this is a donation, again anonymous. I have removed the name from the top.
It is anonymous?
It is anonymous.
Okay.
But it's the donation of 96 computers. And Peter, this will allow what to occur?
96?
Our first priority is to replace all the teacher workstations in all the rooms in the middle high school. They're failing by the day. I should mention that these are brand-new computers in the box. They're older, they haven't been, I think they were ordered by this company 4 years ago, and for some reason they were never deployed. But they're in the box, they're brand new, and they're much better than anything that we're not leasing in the building.
Wow.
And this is part of this is one of the initiatives in the technology plan was to
Yeah.
I mean, we've really, with what we perceived as no money, we have really done a lot of things in that technology plan that was generated 5 years ago, and this is one of those priorities. So with this donation, we'll be able to achieve that.
All right. With that said, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the anonymous donation of 96 computers as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Again,
Very
I
kind.
can't get over the overwhelming support and
Unbelievable.
generosity of the public. It's
This
simply
is-
amazing. To think, we get, donations and then to have nearly 100 computers, provided to us is simply amazing.
It's huge.
And for which we're incredibly thankful and grateful. Okay, moving right along, we have first reading of policy KLL, which is relations with nonprofit entities. It was distributed last meeting, first reading is this meeting, and then next meeting we'll adopt. We don't read it.
Well, no, you don't read it,
It's just more if there's any questions or issues.
Right.
We should get them back through governance now
Right.
so that at our next meeting we can adopt.
And the background to why this policy is being developed at this time is provided for you. So you know, if you want to read that, and then, this, our advice from our advisor was that one of the things that could happen in response to this document is the development of a policy. And so in weighing all of the possibilities, we sat in governance and we said, well, if we were to develop a policy, what could it look like? And how could we do it in a way that responds to what the issue was that was raised? So this is for your review and discussion.
All right, next, Carol had provided her strategic plan. And this is a draft of it.
Absolutely.
And it's going to be discussed in greater detail at the next two meetings. So since we have about 50 pages put in front of us tonight, we're not going to sit and go through it more, read through it, come up with questions, and then.
Yeah, I did provide you with a little memo that's on the table that's just an overview of, what I'd like you to know about the structure of it, the reason we're doing it in a draft form. We want input and participation. There may be things in this plan that we would say, well, we know there are things that have to be a top priority. There may be other things that are important to do, but maybe aren't as high a priority. So please, as you review it, if there's something in there that you think should be in there that isn't, if you think there's things in there that you wonder what's the value of it, is it really as important, please feel free to to share that with us. I mean, one of the goals of the committee, one of the jobs of the committee, along with administration, is to develop strategic goals.
Yep.
So it is within the purview of your responsibility, and we do welcome and value your input. The school administration will also be looking at this, and you know, there's likely to be some changes, but the reason we want to do it over multiple meetings is because we do want to make adjustments if need be. We want input and participation from the people. The one thing I would call your attention to on the second back of the paper is, you know, strategic planning is a very interesting exercise, and there are a lot of places that will develop strategic plans with a ton of input from members of the public. You know, they'll convene these 20-member strategic planning committees. You know, I've sat on those. I'm not a fan, not because I don't value the input of the community. I think there's a role and a very important role for members of the community, but I don't think it's necessarily sitting at the table generating what should go into the plan. A lot of things that get generated, go into plans, are mandated by the state. As you review the plan, you'll be able to see where those are. There are also things that come out, actions that come out of student performance data trends that the public wouldn't necessarily really know about. And there are things that we've done in the last several years in our first plan that were accomplishments that we're building on perhaps here. But there are things in the plan that invite public participation into satisfaction surveys. Public Relations is going to put together a communication plan. So there'll be ways to discuss, you know, the back and forth of information and how does that make sense. We're going to need to communicate in a much more simple format to the public. These are things, and then of course we're going to report publicly several times throughout the process of the 3-year plan. Those are a lot of opportunities for the public to get information, but also to respond to information. But I think in the interest of time, there's nothing more frustrating than sitting on a committee and spending a year, you know, throwing ideas on the table that maybe, you know, divert you from your mission, because you can't do all of those things plus all the things you're required to do. So the goal here is to make things, you know, the high priorities based on what we need to do, based on what we know about our students, based on what we know about our requirements from the state, based on what we know needs to be continued from the work we've been doing over time. So that's how the process isn't like you might hear in other places where there's an elaborate process beforehand. We will post the plan. We will invite public comment. You know, I'm sure there'll be lots of opportunities over the course of this plan for participation. And the staff will be involved by working with their principals and working with their leaders, you know, to be reporting on their progress on these, and our school plans will be lined up. So it's all part of, you know, an aligned and coordinated effort. Okay, and it's very ambitious, it always is every year. And what we'll do for you at the next meeting is I'll take from these focus areas, I will take with the administrators, and we'll actually put what are the goals for 2012-13, because then there'll be another action plan for the next year. And this is a 3-year plan, so everything is not going to get done in year 1. And many things will be initiated in year 1 and fully implemented in year 3, or partially implemented, and that'll be the process for the next 3 years after. It's a road for continuous improvement. It's not a here's the list, check it all off, and you've done it, never to see it again. That's not the value of a strategic plan. Okay?
All right.
And I want to thank Julie today. She spent a lot of time with me, and the principals have had input into this as well. And it's an exercise that takes a lot of time and thought and planning. But it is a work in progress, and it probably is likely to be changed and modified before we get to the point where we say this is the plan and here we go.
And that's why we're not going to go through it now, because there's a lot that went into it, and for us to start flipping through it wouldn't.
Right. And I think in the interest of time, you know, to go through it. But I think the memo will give you a little bit of context and a little bit of you know, a sense of how it was developed and what the priorities are.
Okay. All right. We did middle school conference nights. That's all set.
We're good.
I think we're set. The only thing that I want to add, there's just a couple little housekeeping notes. we have a special meeting with Mike Gilbert of MASC on October 24th. Laura, do you know where that is?
Pearlie's Teachers Lounge upstairs.
In the Pearlie's Teachers Lounge, from 7 probably to 9. I think we talked and we said 2 hours. So if you have any questions you want to ask him about, any things that you're confused about on the committee, how we do things, what our roles are, what to do when, what to do if.
Scenarios.
Yeah, like
It's professional development for us.
for us, exactly. He's
Awesome.
going to run
I
through
like that. In the
protocols.
strategic plan.
Yeah.
That's great.
He's going to run through operating protocols and just general how school committees work and what our roles are. So if you have any questions, can I ask him this? Shoot it to Laura. She's going to send him all the notes and all the questions that we might have.
Good idea.
And it's a posted public meeting. Next, the other thing I wanted to bring up, town meeting is October 29th at 7 o'clock at the Georgetown Middle High School, so everyone is encouraged to attend. And as Rob had said, we're going to have 2 votes there. One is on the school building project, and the other is on the middle high school feasibility study. Depending upon the outcome at town meeting, if both pass and they proceed to a ballot, then we have to vote on those on November 6th. If it passes at
On the
town
school.
on the schools.
Just on the school.
Just on the school.
If something, whatever if we have a positive outcome at town meeting, it doesn't mean that it's passed. It means that we have to go to the ballot on November 6th. I find people sometimes get confused about that. And for that matter, anything that happens there has to go to ballot at that point. Remember the music parents auction on November 2nd, Black Swan. And then Monday, October 15th, public information session on the school building project at Pembroke. And then Saturday, October 20th, at the middle high school at 10 in the morning. Again, the school meeting, the school building project.
And I don't believe that.
October 20th is 10 a.m.?
Yeah, it's a joint meeting, but I haven't heard, and
I don't believe that's in the Georgetown record this week.
Oh, well, that should be publicized.
Yeah.
I may be wrong about that, but I don't think it was.
And the other thing is, we may potentially have that third article on the special education expenditures.
Yeah, and
I mean, we have to get that on, it has to be approved, right, by the,
well, it was approved by the Board of Selectmen.
okay.
And then FinCom, if it goes to the Board of Selectmen and they recommend putting it forward, it goes forward. We're meeting with FinCom on Wednesday night, and they would make a recommendation as to whether they approve it or not.
But is it on the warrant?
It's on the warrant.
Because the Board of Selectmen approved.
Because the Board of
putting it.
Selectmen put it on. And then FinCom will say whether they recommend approval or not at town meeting. No executive session tonight, I think that's it. All right, Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right.
Night.
Good night, Brian.
Thank you.
Thank you.